Can I be sued for credit card debt? Yup, that's the exact question we're digging into today on In Plain Legal Podcast. And listen, if this topic made you click, then I already know what you're going through. Maybe you've been dodging calls, maybe you're behind on payments, maybe a letter just came in the mail and you don't even want to open it. You're stressed, overwhelmed, and probably wondering if things are about to spiral out of control. You're in the right place. We're going to talk about what can actually happen if you fall behind on your credit card, whether you're just late on a payment or you haven't paid in months. By the end of this episode, you'll know if you can be sued, when it might happen, and what your real options are, even if the worst case scenario hits. Here's the thing. This isn't rare. You're not some financial failure because this happened. Over 60 million Americans have some form of past due debt in collections, and as of the end of 2024, the total U.S. credit card debt has passed $1.1 trillion. That's trillion with a T. So if you're in this situation, you're a part of a massive club. A club no one wants to join, but one that includes everyday people. People who got sick and racked up bills. People whose rent went up. People who just needed groceries and didn't have another option. Life got expensive fast, and the credit cards were there, ready to help. But eventually, those balances catch up. And when they do, you start wondering, can they really take me to court over this? So let's break it all down. First up, yes, you can absolutely be sued for credit card debt. No maybe, no gray area. That's a contract you signed. You borrowed money. If you don't pay it back, the company has a legal right to collect it. And suing you? That's one of their most powerful tools. But not everyone gets sued. So let's talk about how it usually plays out. Say you miss a payment. No biggie at first. You'll get a reminder. Maybe a late fee, maybe they hike your interest rate. But once you hit the 90-day mark, that's when the account often gets charged off or sold to a debt collection agency. And that's when the tone changes. Now, instead of friendly reminders, you're getting collections calls, emails, letters that feel aggressive, and depending on the company and the amount you owe, they might start preparing a lawsuit, especially if you don't respond. Let me give you a real example. A listener named Alex, not their real name, emailed me last year. They had about $7,800 on a credit card they hadn't paid in over 8 months. They'd moved, didn't update their mailing address, and one day got a knock on the door. Someone serving them court papers. They panicked, thought it was a scam, almost ignored it. But it was real. A debt buyer had purchased their old credit card balance and filed a lawsuit. And because Alex didn't respond in time, they lost by default. The court issued a default judgment, and the collectors were able to garnish their wages straight out of their paycheck. That's the worst case scenario. Not because of the debt, but because of the silence. That's what gave the creditor the win. So let's talk about this summons and complaint. What it looks like, and what to do if you get one. It'll usually be a few pieces of paper. It'll have your name, the name of the creditor or debt buyer suing you, and a breakdown of how much they claim you owe. Sometimes they tack on interest and legal fees too. You'll see instructions, like you must respond within 30 days or you are hereby summoned. Don't ignore that. This is your shot to respond. You can file something called an answer, where you either deny the debt, admit it, or say you don't know. That response buys you time. It keeps them from winning automatically. Now, what happens if you don't respond? Like Alex, you lose by default. That's called a default judgment, and it gives the creditor legal permission to collect in stronger ways. In most states, that includes wage garnishment, where a chunk of your paycheck gets sent directly to them. It can also mean freezing your bank account or putting a lien on your property. It doesn't happen overnight, but it can happen. Now let me pause and say, just because you're sued doesn't mean you don't have rights. In fact, this might surprise you, but some debt lawsuits are kind of flimsy. Debt buyers, companies that buy old credit card balances for pennies on the dollar, often don't have solid proof. They might not have a copy of your original agreement. They might not be able to prove the numbers. Sometimes they sue the wrong person altogether. And if you don't show up to court to challenge it, the judge never gets to see that. This is where a lot of people miss out. You might think you don't have a case. But sometimes just showing up and asking for documentation, asking the creditor to prove the debt, can be enough to get it dismissed or settled for way less. So what are your options if you're being sued? Let's say you get served. You open the papers. What now? Option 1. Respond and fight it. This is best if you genuinely don't think the debt is valid, or the amount is wrong, or the creditor doesn't have proper proof. You can file a written response with the court and appear at your hearing. Bring everything you have, statements, payments, correspondence. A lawyer can definitely help here, but you can also represent yourself. Option 2. Negotiate a settlement. Even after a lawsuit is filed, many creditors will work out a deal. Maybe you pay 50% of what's owed, or agree to monthly payments. They might be willing to dismiss the case if you make a lump sum payment. Don't be afraid to call the law firm listed on the paperwork and ask. Option 3. Do nothing and accept the judgment. I don't recommend this, but if you truly can't pay and you don't plan to fight it, the creditor will win. Just understand what that means. Wage garnishment, frozen bank accounts, damage to your credit. In some cases, that judgment can follow you for years. In many states, they're good for 7 to 10 years and can often be renewed. So yeah, ignoring it doesn't make it go away. It makes it worse. Let's talk for a second about the statute of limitations, because this is a huge one people don't realize. Every state has a time limit on how long a creditor can sue you for a debt. In some states, it's 3 years, in others 6, and a few even go up to 10. But once that window closes, once the statute expires, they can't sue you anymore. The trick is knowing when that clock started. In most cases, it's the date of your last payment or activity on the account. If you made a payment or even promised to pay recently, that might have restarted the clock. So if it's been years and you suddenly hear from a collector, don't assume they're bluffing. Check your state's law. Just Google credit card debt statute of limitations, your state. Seriously, it might save you. All right, let's talk about what they can't do. Because a lot of people worry about losing everything. Like, are they going to take my house? My car? Am I going to be homeless because of a credit card? Short answer: no. There are protections in place. These are called exemption laws, and they vary by state, but they usually protect your primary residence, your basic car up to a certain value, Social Security income, disability, and retirement accounts, certain household goods. So no, they're not going to roll up and repo your fridge or take your grandmother's ring. That's not how this works. But they can take your wages or money from your bank account if they win in court and you don't act. Let's do a quick recap here. Yes, you can be sued for credit card debt. If you get sued and ignore it, they win by default. If they win, they can garnish wages, freeze accounts, or place liens. But if you respond, challenge the case, or negotiate, you have options. And if the debt's old enough, it might not even be enforceable anymore. So if you're in this situation, the first thing I want you to do is breathe. Then open the letter. Then act. Whether that means calling a legal aid clinic, hiring a lawyer, or just showing up in court and saying, I don't agree with this. That first move is everything, because silence is what gets people hurt. One last reminder. This is legal info, not legal advice. Every case is different. Talk to a licensed attorney if you're facing a lawsuit, and don't be ashamed. Seriously, the system makes debt feel like a personal failure, but it's not. It's a structural thing, and you're not alone in it. If this episode helped you, check out our next one on Can a Debt Collector Contact My Employer? It's full of rights you probably didn't know you had. All right, take care of yourself. You've got this. I'm rooting for you. Catch you next time on In Plain Legal Podcast.